Sounds of happy Bohemians fans to start off the Extratime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast. That followed their 1-0 victory against Dundalk at Dalymount Park. Akintunde scoring the only goal in what wasn't an amazing game, but I'm sure Bohs fans don't mind, because that's 2 victories across the weekend for them. They're now in joint second place in the league. Well, technically third, but they have the same points as second place Derry City. Later on, we'll be hearing from former Bohs, Shamrock Rovers and St. Pat's goalkeeper Barry Murphy, and we'll hear from the Bohemians manager Alan Reynolds. As well as all that, we'll get the thoughts of Shelbourne manager Eoin Wearen on their season so far and their scoreless draw with Shamrock Rovers at the weekend. Lia O'Leary, impressive again for Rovers. She was part of an Irish under-19 team that reached the Euros recently. And as I say, she's also impressing in the League of Ireland. So we'll also hear from her. Let's start though with the story of the game from Dalymount Park. Bohs with a 1-0 win over Dundalk. Extratime.com's Rory Merriman was there, and afterwards he sent us this voice note.
It was James Akintunde who scored the decisive goal after getting on the end of a set-piece cross from Dale Rooney to put Bohs 1-0 ahead in the 80th minute. I spoke with Reynolds on Friday after the game against Shells, and although he was reticent to give anything away, he spoke about how they have been working on 1v1 plays in the training ground, something that was very prominent in the defence tonight. The main chant from the Jody stand tonight was USA, USA, as American native Abubakar Keita mastered the art of 1v1 defending, cleaning up everything back there. In the first half, it was Dundalk who were on top, with excellent exhibition football on display from Daryl Horgan, picking out passes and utilising the space down the right wing efficiently. It was in the 79th minute when a rash sliding challenge from Louis Annesley put Bohs in prime position for a set-piece free kick, which they converted courtesy of the head of Impact sub James Akintunde. From there, Bohs just held on for the remaining 15 minutes or so, including additional time, and secured another 3 points.
Extratime.com's Rory Merriman, who was in Dalymount Park for Bohs' 1-0 win against Dundalk. Now, an interesting tweet from the Men Who Save Football. That's a Dundalk podcast. They said, despite delivering possibly their best 90 minutes of the season, hashtag Dundalk FC pay the price of being unable to create or convert goal-scoring chances, as the decision to part with goal-scoring legend Patrick Hooban continues to haunt the club. They then go on to ask what people made of last night's game. Tonight as I talk, but last night as you listen. It does seem like a very strange decision, doesn't it? To get rid of Patrick Hooban when he still had a year on his contract. Before we hear from Alan Reynolds and get the analysis of Barry Murphy, can I ask you to like, subscribe and review if you possibly can. You can do all of those things on whatever platform you get this podcast through, and if you could, we'd really appreciate it. It really helps us out. Right, Alan Reynolds is really helping out Bohs. The win against Dundalk represented the first back-to-back win for Bohs so far this season. Extratime.com's Rory Merriman caught up with Rennie, as he's known, after the game.
I was pleased to get in at 0-0 and change 1 or 2 things at half time. But making 6 changes, I think you're going to get that. Yeah, we always felt that the lads on the bench would win the game. You know, it was something that did come on, but I needed to give them a chance. There were a few knocks from Friday. But we felt Jekyll and McDade and Akintunde would make a difference. Look, we need to pass the ball a lot better and try and get a stamp at a team that I'd like. Okay. And that's going to take time and might take players. Yeah, look, it was with Waterford. We played up in Dundalk a few weeks ago and 0-0, so we knew it wasn't going to be easy. I don't think they're getting the breaks, I suppose, at the minute. And looking at that, maybe we did. I think they're a good side, and I'm glad to get the 3 points off. We play him actually Friday week again. Yeah, first thing for James Akintunde, he's a diamond of a lad, and even when I was in Derry, actually cracking fella. And you know, even when he left there, we were unsure because of the type of fella he is. But he's one of these streaky strikers who gets on a run, and he's on that at the minute, and long may he continue.
Alan Reynolds talking to Extratime.com's Rory Merriman following their 1-0 win against Dundalk. Time now to get the analysis of Barry Murphy. Barry, what kind of game was it in your opinion?
Yeah, it wasn't one for a purist. I think looking at it really kind of tested your love of the game. All right, the wind killed it as any sort of kind of spectacle. It was blowing a gale towards the shopping centre end, and yeah, it kind of killed any sort of fluidity or pattern to play to the game. But yeah, it's kind of incredible. Really, Tarasca's goal kicks in the first half were barely making it 30 yards, and Dundalk actually played quite well in the first half. They had a bit of energy about them. They used that win well to pin Bohs in the first half without really creating anything. think Robbie Benson probably had the best chance of the half, and had a ball pinged around the box and fell to him, and he skied it over. But your Bows are kind of looking to Dylan Connolly and James Clark to get on the ball, to use their running power to get up the pitch, but they just couldn't get them on the ball. And it was kind of a case of survive till half time for Bows, and they managed to do that.
I am not going to lie. During the middle of the first half, I said to myself, I could probably watch Chelsea and Everton. Barry's keeping an eye on this game. I could get away with it. I was
Yeah,
tempted, Barry. I was
I was
tempted.
thinking the same.
Were you okay?
Yeah.
But like, and in fairness to the players, and maybe it's something that people don't realize. Players don't mind the rain, they don't mind the snow, they don't mind it being too hot. The one thing they absolutely hate is wind.
Absolutely. You just can't legislate for it. And it's swirling wind as well. Like, keepers are taking kickouts, and they're hitting at the length of the Daily Man pitch, which is huge anyway. But yeah, it was just a case of Bows really hung on till half time, and knew that they'd had that win at their backs. And to be fair to it, they played a little better. They made a couple of substitutions at half time. Dale Rooney came on the second half, and they were causing all sorts of problems then, kind of to Anima Sahun was subbed off at half time for Dundalk. He looked like he was going to get himself sent off, and on the hour mark, Akintunde and McDade came on, and I think McDade did more in the 2 minutes he was on, and Bowes had done the whole open 45. Forced Shelby into a couple of good saves. One, he turned onto his right and unleashed a good shot, which is well saved by Shelby. And from the rebound, Bowes whipped back in, and McDade hit it on the half volley. And Shelby did well to block it at his near post. So yeah, they just kind of pushed on from then, and Dundalk kind of held into it. They probably played the wind better in the second half than both had in the first, and a couple of good patterns of play, but he just looked so kind of they just looked light kind of all over the pitch. And then there was a free kick with 10 minutes to go, and a brilliant ball in from Dale Rooney, and Akintunde facing the wrong way from about 6 yards connected the back of his head to make it 1-0. And after making two good saves and you're watching it back, you think, did Shelby cover himself in glory there? He kind of came running out 2 or 3 yards more and reduced his reaction time, when he probably, if he gets the initial decision right and stays in his line, he probably saves it. So it was one of those nights for goalkeepers as well. You're questioning your decisions with the win. But yeah, Bohs won't be too disheartened to 6 points from the weekend.
Is that also a fault with the defence rather than just the goalkeeper? Because keep in mind, and you mentioned it there, they had to take off Anamasahoon at half time because he was walking a really dangerous tightrope. He was already on a yellow, and even after that, he committed a couple of fouls. And in fairness, even Rory O'Connor, who is a Bohs fan, who was on commentary for LOI TV, people may also know him as the Irish Independent's rugby correspondent, he was almost saying it in a sympathetic way. They really need to substitute this guy because he's going to get sent off, and he's a kid, and you don't want to see that. Now, he didn't say that exactly, but that's the sense I got from the commentators. Even they were like, we don't want to see this guy get red carded here.
Yeah, there was 5 minutes left in the first half, and he got a booking, and then he got another foul. He just kept coming over the top of the centre forward and making kind of rash decisions, and you're thinking, right, just get to half time and have a word with him. But 2 minutes later, he does the exact same thing, and you can see Robbie Benson looking at the referee, just going, "Let us get to half time and take him off." And to be fair, they got away with it. And Ansley came on in the second half and was fairly rash in the tackle as well, got himself booked. So I think half the Dundalk team were on yellow cards at one stage, but it was that kind of game, And just for the goal, you're probably looking to probably keep your line a little bit higher in the wind to give your goalkeeper a chance. But to be fair to him, it was so hard to defend against.
And is that up to the goalkeeper, Barry, or is that up to an Andy Boyle type to lead in defence?
Yeah, a bit of both. You're looking for a strong goalkeeper to come out, and it's one of those ones where you'd probably think, if that's a calm enough day. And I saw from his first game against Rovers, Shelby, that he was prepared to come out and do that, but maybe he's suffering from a bit of lack of confidence as well. Even though he had a clean sheet the weekend, he's only coming back into the side now. So on his day, and probably with a bit of confidence behind, he comes out and claims that. And Andy Boyle, but again, a bit of confidence back four, has that probably 2 or 3 yards further up and gives him a chance to do that. But yeah, when things aren't going right for you, they're really not going right for you.
And in fairness, he played well on Friday night. And for most of the night, tonight as we speak, he played well as well. And Mayo Anamasahun, I know we singled him out there for a bit of criticism regards discipline, but he was excellent on Friday night. And he's like, there's such promise around this kid, and he did well when he went to Dungannon, and he proved he could score goals there. So there's a lot of talent there, but tonight he just walked a bit of a tightrope. For Dundalk, they never really looked like scoring, but do you think they can find a way to get goals, given that when O'Kane came on, they had an option on the left. Horgan obviously can create things on the right and get crosses in. Gullen, I'm not sure he's the big man in the box necessarily. I know he seems like he's physically strong, but is that something they need to look at and maybe get Owen Kenny more game time? Because even when Owen came on, yes, he didn't get on the end of a whole pile of things, but he looked like he could, if that makes sense.
Yeah, he threw his head in there, right, where it was hurt at the end. Him and Traska had a kind of collision at the end. But yeah, I think I saw a stat today. Andrew Kinnean had a stat out about the amount of touches that Dundalk have had in the box, and it's the lowest amount out of anyone in the Premier Division. And when you look at the alternative stat of Hoban, that shadow again of Pat Hoban, he's the highest amount of touches, I think, in the first 7 or 8 games that Derry have, and you take that away from a Dundalk, and you just don't see where the goals are going to come from. They had a couple of half chances again, stuff falling to Robbie Benson, and just balls thrown into the box and hoping for the best. But there's no real partner play that's going to really open up a team there. And again, Bohs, to be fair to them, they made 6 changes tonight. And you're thinking maybe that's too many changes. They didn't. They looked a bit kind of out of it in the first half. There was no cohesion to the play. But then second half they came on and did the business. So maybe Alan Reynolds has got that right and right in the button. And no disrespect to the likes of Owen Kenny, but as of yet he hasn't got that League of Ireland pedigree. You're looking to bring off the bench and win you a game.
The Dundalk supporters did applaud their team at the end, so they appreciate the effort that went in. What about Bohs under Alan Reynolds? Are you beginning to see the differences that Alan Reynolds is bringing?
Yeah, you're trying to turn a boat around, really. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to shore things up and try and pick up points as well, which is really difficult to do. When you're coming in as a manager, that's your remit. It's to stop the rot, really, and try and turn things around. And he's done that and managed to pick up 6 huge big points over the weekend as well. He'd a bad enough defeat in one of the games as well, but he's gone to Galway and won. He's gone to Talca Park, Shells and won, and he's got a great win at home here. So you can't be too disheartened by the start. And listen, I know from Alan Reynolds, he's going to get the basics right first, and then he's going to progress up the field and make them a more attacking side. But so far, so good for them.
And as you mentioned, 6 changes, but there wasn't really a change in how they did things in their structure. That's a really good sign, isn't it?
Yeah, he stuck to the 4-2-3-1. When you look at the lights that are coming out, you're obviously missing Flores, who's such a pivotal player for him at the moment, and Mills at centre half. You don't usually see the centre halves changing too much with 2 games in a weekend, but Mills, Matheson, Rooney, McDade came on, but whether it was tactical or there was a bit of tiredness in the legs, it really worked when they come on after 60 minutes, because Dundalk had kind of run out of steam then, and both were excellent for that 15-minute period. They were really good and got their goal in that at the end of that period and held on. So he got the tactics spot on.
And this is a cliche I'm about to drop, but of course, I'm no stranger to them, and in fact, quite like them. A 1-0 win like that, following the 2-1 victory away to Shelbourne, in which they had to dig in, that just gives the team something, doesn't it? That builds a bit of confidence, bit of grit, bit of character.
Yeah, it shows. It adds a few more strings to your bow. When you can go on a horrible night. I don't think it was quite raining, but the wind was horrendous. And you come out of that, and if you offer that 1-0 win at the start of that game, you just snap your hand off it, because it's a great leveler, the wind, really. So, no, they were value for the money. I think value for the win in the end. I think both, because they kind of made more of the chances that they did get, and they held on and tactically held on for the first half to get it to 0-0 at half time and make advantage of the second half of the win. But yeah, value for the money, I think.
And it's a mad league, because the top 5 have all played 10 games, and the top 5 reads like this. In 5th, St. Patrick's Athletic on 14 points. In 4th, Shamrock Rovers on 15 points. A team that most people say will probably still win the league, and comfortably. They've actually only played 9 games, I beg your pardon. In 3rd, Bohemians on 16 points, having played 10 games. In 2nd, Derry also on 16 points, also having played 10 games. And top of the pile, Shelbourne, 5 points clear on 21 points with 10 games played. It is a mad league. And then you go down to the bottom. Dundalk, bottom on 4 points. I would suggest that tonight's performance and the 0-0 draw against St. Pat's suggests that maybe they could put a run together. Drogheda second from bottom on 8 points. You could argue that they could have 7 more points than they actually have. Galway in 8th on 11 points. Waterford 7th on 12 points. And then Sligo 6th on 12 points, who are just short of the opening half of that conversation of the top of the division. It's mad so far, isn't it? It hasn't really settled down yet. Do you expect it to, or do you think it could be like this right through?
I think the second series of games, I think you'll really see it's starting to change. I think a little bit. The quality kind of will start. The cream will start rising to the top a little bit. I think, but again, you have so many of these double header weekends coming up. As we said before, Rovers are kings of the double headers. 12 wins from the 18 games they played so far in double headers over the last season and this season so far. So it's up to the kind of the Pats and Derrys to do better. Shells as well, kind of in that area, the double header weekends. But a good start for Bohs and that kind of double header weekend so far for them. But again, you just look across the board. Dundalk didn't look like way off it tonight either. They could have easily picked up a win or at least a point. And Drogheda are always in and around it as well. Really hard place to go and get something. So it's kind of, you could pick one from any five kind of teams down at the bottom there that could be in trouble, and then up the top as well. It's one from 3 or 4 who's you fancy to win it, and Rovers are always lurking there. You can always say that about them. They're always it's fairly ominous where they are at the moment, but there hasn't been a really standout team so far. Bar Shell's decent one, and yet they haven't got too much of a lead over the rest.
And at this stage of the season, are players settled in, good or bad? And what I mean by that is, if you're going well, you kind of take the momentum and bounce on. If you're going not so well, you kind of say, oh, well, I'm not playing particularly well. This team isn't playing particularly well. And you nearly half-ass it. Or does that happen later? Or does it happen at all?
No, you definitely need a betting in period. I think you can see tonight from Bohs that they've like Charaska looked very good in goal. Piszczek up front looks like he's a bit about him as well. He's a big unit. He's got a bit about him as well. He can play. So these lads need time to come in and adjust to the league, and he kind of need to have a look at everyone really after 10 games. And that's what they've done at the first series of games, and it'll be the same with Dundalk. They've made so many changes. They've probably made too many changes.
Sorry, I should clarify. I was talking about all teams there, not to just pick on Dundalk or Bohs.
Yeah, no, but that's kind of it. That's when you're talking about Dundalk, like they probably made too many changes. Like most of the other teams have filled gaps where they were kind of missing a bit of quality. So listen, it's so open. It's all about who can just put a bit of consistency together. You look at the bit of consistency in 2 wins for Bohs, and they're right back up the table. So the rest of them can see that and use that as a marker.
Yep. And just before we look ahead to the weekend's fixtures, this is not necessarily a political sports podcast. I'll allow Luke and Tom and McDara and Donald to express their righteous indignation about all things football in a couple of days when they come out with the Extratime.com League of Ireland podcast. But earlier today, as we speak, Jonathan Hill, it was announced he will be leaving his position as CEO of the FAI. What did you think when you heard that news?
I thought it was inevitable. I think since his appearance kind of in the Oireachtas, I think it was kind of people had thought there was something on the cards really, but you're just looking for a bit of stability from the FAI at the moment. The league is on the up at the moment, and it just needs a bit of stability underneath it really to really push it on. And when you're looking for funding, I think off the government are probably gone. This is an easy win for the government as to why they won't give certain funding, because they don't know who's going to be in charge, who's this money going to. It's just frustrating for clubs. I think at this stage that kind of stuff is going on, and even the stuff around the manager as well. It's just not helpful in terms of promoting the league and the FAI as a whole.
And I'm putting you on the spot here, so by all means, you don't have to answer this or get into it. Would you like to see someone from within Irish sports, within the FAI, or would you like to see another outsider come in? What do you think is needed at the moment?
I think there's already made person in Brian Kerr right there
For chief executive.
Yeah, just so like even in a I don't know, a role similar to what he was doing with Sean O'Shea. I just think that they've gone down this road so many times with CEOs and the collegiate type without actually knowing Irish football. I think just you need somebody in there with just a vision for the league. And if you're, it's hard to put a name really on who you want in there, but it's got to change. You've got to go away from the usual format, I think, in the way things are going at the moment. And I thought I could just couldn't see much past him at the moment.
Okay, well, that's an interesting view about getting Brian Curran. So not necessarily as the CEO, but certainly as an advisor to the CEO or a similar role to that.
Yeah, I just think his knowledge of Irish football as a whole, I think it's invaluable. I think, listen, you've got to have somebody in on the commercial side and things like that. But there's roles for commercial people in the FAI and marketing people, and you see how well the League of Ireland's been promoted this year as a kind of nearly an independent part to the FAI. The job Mark Shannon's doing is brilliant, you know, and alongside the clubs, the club has never been or the league has never been promoted so well. But now you just need leadership from the top as well. I think as a whole, they need to realise what a good league we have here and kind of base everything around that. And then, you know, this is the feeder for the national team. So you've got to get the basics right first.
Absolutely correct. And look, I would have worked with some people in the FAI when I was presenting the League of Ireland highlight show. And I know there's people involved who love Irish football, who are ambitious for Irish football, who work hard in their jobs. And of course, when something like the Oireachtas committees happen, it must drain them of energy. It must be a sucker punch to them because they genuinely want to improve Irish football, the League of Ireland and everything else in Irish football. And I know they're there because I've worked with these people, both on the League of Ireland side and even one or two from commercial. So if the right person comes in, hopefully they can drive it on from here. But look, hope is a dangerous thing, as they say in the Shawshank Redemption. Are you going to a game on Friday night? Do you know where you're going on Friday night yet?
I don't yet. I have to get over tonight first before I choose what Friday night's game will be. But hoping for a better affair on Friday.
Yeah, okay. Well, listen, I won't force you into a choice now, but I will go through the fixtures. On Friday night, it's Bohs against Drogheda, Derry against Shamrock Rovers, Galway against Shelburne, St. Pat's against Waterford, and Sligo Rovers against Dundalk. Look, the one that jumps off the page there is St. Pat's against Waterford. That's a joke. I'm doing St. Pat's against Waterford. I'm really looking forward to it. But Derry against Shamrock Rovers, that's a huge game at the Ryan McBride Brandywell.
Yeah, it's a massive one. It's a real test of where Derry are at now. I think it was a really poor result for them in Drogheda. If you want to put any sort of title challenge together, you've got to go there and win, and they didn't. And again, a couple of games and the pressure starts mounting again. And for Rovers, they looked really good the other night. They'll fancy themselves going up there and getting something. And yeah, it's a real test for both of them. And then you've got Shells again for Rovers on the week after. So yeah, this couple of games now will really test where people are in the league.
And that is a real tester, as you just mentioned there, because Shamrock Rovers are away to Shelburne on Monday night. Also that night, Derry against St. Pat's and Sligo Rovers taking on Galway United. That's a pretty tough weekend for Shamrock Rovers, isn't it? Well, it's a pretty tough weekend for all of them, but for Rovers to have to play Derry and Shells, both away.
Yeah, it's the only thing about Shells is it's only across the city, but Shells have been so good at home, bar the other night. It's going to be a really tough affair, and going to the Brandywell, no matter what state kind of Derry you're in, it's always a really tough place to go. But Rovers will fancy themselves. They're on a bit of form now. They've kind of found their feet, I think, the last couple of games, and they were really good against Sligo, so they'll fancy going to the Brandywell, getting something, and then you'd feel they want to put a marker down against Shells, and it's now Shells have hit a little sticky patch. It'll be Damon Duffin Earl's money now and see kind of where they really are in terms of their squad depth and things coming into the weekend.
Okay, Barry Murphy, formerly of St. Pat's, Bohs and Shamrock Rovers, of course. Thank you very much for joining us on the Extratime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast. It's a little worrying how much time we actually spend in each other's company, Barry, lately, and how late into the night we end up chatting. But listen, that's a discussion for another day. Thanks, Barry.
Yeah, no bother. Thanks, Oisin.
Before we go, let's concentrate on the SSE Airtricity Women's Premier Division. At the weekend, Shells and Shamrock Rovers drawing 0-0. Shelburne third on 6 points. Shamrock Rovers sixth on 4 points. After the game, we heard from Shelburne boss Eoin Wearen. Before that, though, let's hear from Shamrock Rovers young star Lia O'Leary, who is speaking to Extratime.com's Christine Allen. Of course, Lia, part of the under-19 team, which recently qualified for the Euros, and obviously she's part of the current Shamrock Rovers team as well. This is what she had to say after the game.
Yeah, I thought it was a good game. I think we definitely pushed on. We had chances that on another day we'd finish, but I think it was definitely a great game from both teams. And we both gave it everything.
You and Joy worked very well together. You always seemed to. And she brought the ball into you there and you had a chance, but just unfortunately weren't able to convert it.
Just bounced as soon as I hit, I'm raging, but yeah, I think myself and Joy love playing with Joy. You just read what you should do, and yeah, I think it was a good team performance.
And you both obviously helped Ireland qualify first time since 2014 for the Euros, so that's this year, this summer. Are you excited for that?
Yeah, I think we're all buzzing. It was such a great camp. We came in as third seed, so we were huge underdogs, but we just really put the performance in. We all believed in each other, and the motivation going into the game was unreal. So to all three games, but yeah, we're all absolutely over the moon.
And you've DLR now next. How do you feel about that game?
Yeah, I think it's always a good challenge playing DLR, so we'll learn from the first game of the season and hopefully bring what we've been working on into the game next week.
It was a very physical game against DLR. I remember I was there myself in the opening game, and that game was very physical as well with 3 bookings, so I feel that'll stand you in good stead going into the game with DLR.
Yeah,
Test.
Yeah, I think so. I think we just need to move the ball quick, and that eliminates the physical challenge at times. So yeah, if we just move the ball and play how we know we can play, then I think we have a great chance.
It's a name you've probably heard before, and you will definitely hear many times again. Lia O'Leary of Shamrock Rovers speaking to Extratime.com's Christine Allen following the scoreless draw with Shamrock Rovers at the weekend. Let's hear now from Shell's manager Eoin Wearen. He's not that long in the job. It's been a steady enough start. They're in 6th position on 4 points. Yes, I know they're 8 points behind the leaders, but there's a long way to go yet. Anyway, after the scoreless draw with Shelbourne with Shamrock Rovers on Saturday, he spoke to Extratime.com's Paul Corcoran.
Definitely for us at the moment, one thing that we're really pleased with is the clean sheet aspect, and we're unbeaten at the moment, and that's something that we want to continue, and that's a great building block for us going forward. But I think obviously then you need to go, especially at home, you need to go after games and win games, and I think the intention were there. I think with the subs that we made, we brought on players that we think could get us a goal and could create something. And likewise they did too, so I think both sides did go for it in the end, but I think a combination of both teams defending really well, and then probably obviously the surface as well is quite poor at the moment, and probably not allowed to be the spectacle that we would like, because I know, speaking to quality, we're two sides that try to play football out from the back, and we want to play what we consider the right way anyway. And today we kind of had to mix it up a little bit, and it probably didn't suit either side, and that's when you kind of get the result that you did in the end.
As you mentioned, the clean sheet, I suppose, I often think the advantages with whoever's taking the penalty, but you must have been thrilled with Quillen save anyway.
Yeah, look, we said at half time, Amanda's been brilliant since I've come into the group, and fantastic goalkeeper, great with her feet, but a brilliant character and a leader in the group as well. And
obviously
really happy with the save that she made, but also the follow-up. I think it's only when people look back and they see, Amanda made the save, but 2 or 3 players then recover and stop the goal from going in then as a rebound. So said that to the girls at half time. They're things that we may look back on at the end of the season, and that could make a difference. So look, you've got to try and take the positives out of it. Obviously we want to win the game, but also we've had a tough start on paper. 3 out of our 4 biggest rivals probably at the top half of the table. So we hopefully now we can start to turn some of the performances into more wins.
Actually, that's my next question. Will be just ask, how are you finding it? But roughly 20% I think of the league campaign done. Obviously it's a relatively short league campaign. I suppose, how are you finding being, it's a big club, obviously, how are you finding your first season in charge so far?
Yeah, absolutely loving it, and we've got great people at the club as a whole, like from top to bottom, and I think within the group that we have within the dressing room, the staff, got fantastic staff around me, and I think we have a good balance in terms of the personnel in the group, between senior players, really talented young players coming through, players at the peak of their career. So it's been a fantastic group to work with. They bought into our ideas and what we're trying to do, and there is a lot of change, but we expect as the season goes on that we'll start to really kick on, and we fully believe in that.
That's almost it for the Extratime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast. Let's just run you through the SSE Electricity Women's Premier Division results from the weekend. Shelbourne 0, Shamrock Rovers 0, DLR Waves 1, Cork City 1, Galway United 4, Bohemians 0, Treaty United 0, Sligo Rovers 0, and in the live TV game, Athlone 3, Peamount 1. All of those games, except for that last one, were on LOI TV. Athlone Town against Peamount was live on TG Cahir, and you can go back and watch that on the TG Cahir player. The table looks as thus. Galway United on top on 12 points. They're 5 clear of Athlone. Shelburne in third on 6 points. Peamount, the defending champions, 4th on 6 points. Treaty 5th on 5 points. Shamrock Rovers 6th on 4 points. Cork City 7th on 4 points. Bohemian 8th on 3 points. Sligo 9th on 2 points. DLR Waves 10th on 2 points. And Wexford 11th on 1 point. It is the Avenir All-Ireland Cup this weekend, so the league taking a wee bit of a break in the Women's League of Ireland anyway. But at the men's SSE Electricity Premier Division continues on Friday night. Bohs taking on Drogheda, Derry City taking on Shamrock Rovers, Galway United up against Shelburne, St Pat's take on Waterford, and Sligo Rovers meet Dundalk. In the first division, Bray Wanderers take on Treaty United, Cove Ramblers are up against Finn Harps, Kerry take on Athlone, and Wexford meet UCD. All of those games kick off at 7:45. In the first division on Saturday night, Longford Town hosts Cork City, and on Monday, well, we discussed these games a little bit earlier on with Barry Murphy, but I'll remind you of them anyway. On Monday, in the men's Premier Division, Sligo Rovers host Galway, Derry City are up against St Pat's, and Shelburne meet Shamrock Rovers. Now, for Derry City and St Pat's, you'll be able to go to the St Pat's app and check out the watch party for that game. There'll also be one on Friday night for Waterford against for St Pat's against Waterford. And the thing is you don't necessarily even have to watch it. If you're looking for radio coverage, if you're doing something that means that you can't watch the game, then you can go there and you'll be able to listen to it. There's not a whole pile of radio coverage for the Dublin clubs in the League of Ireland. When they play Sligo Rovers or one of the Louth clubs or Derry or Galway, you've an awful lot of choice because all of those teams have their games covered by the local radio. In Derry's case, there's 2 of them do it, Drive 105 and BBC Radio Foyle. But Dublin clubs don't have a whole pile of live radio coverage, which I think is a letdown and disappointing. But anyway, listen, that's probably me being selfish and trying to drum up a bit of work for myself. Right, that's it for the Extratime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast. Luke Jordan is along with a deep dive into the league probably on Wednesday. By all means, you can get in contact with Extratime through @Extratime News, and you can find the email contact on extratime.com. You can get me on @Oisin Langan. I know I asked earlier on, but I'm going to ask again if you could like, subscribe, comment, review. All of those things help us out, regardless of what platform you get this podcast from. If you can interact and do any of the things I just asked you to do there, that would be absolutely amazing. Right, that's it from me. I'll talk to you again late on Friday or early on Saturday. Luke will be here, as I say, in a couple of days. And of course, extratime.com is there 365 24/7 on extratime.com. But you knew that already. Right, I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.